What I really want to do is just thank you guys all for being here. You're all a really big part of not only Paul's career, but the gallery. And we're really grateful to all of you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you.
And Paul told me I didn't have to introduce him because he'd be speaking for an hour, and that was probably 45 minutes too much.
All right. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. Yes, what was I going to say? Yes, as I said, I have a lot of images, so we're going to go through pretty fast. It's my 25th year at the gallery here, but my life, but my life as an artist goes back before that, you know. And there's a lot of stuff that, like I said, you don't want to know, or you might want to know, and you're going to find out. So, yes, let's get started.
So it's going to be riveting.
Yes.
So we will record. Are you recording?
Recording, yeah.
So don't worry if you miss something. Could you go back and watch it?
We can go back, yes. Yes. You don't have to worry about taking notes because you can review it later. So anyway, as you know, this is the cover of my book, and I'm known for doing the fisherman, the paintings here, working in oils. You may have seen this kind of thing, this fisherman, Chatham. I live on Campground Road in Eastham, and this is like, I think, First Encounter Beach, landscape, seascape. I like going down at the flats, as you know, low tide. The fishing women are always very popular. Okay, so the American Art Collector, I was on the cover a few years back, one of my fishermen. And as you know, I do some architectural pieces, and people often say like my work is a little bit like Edward Hopper, so this is kind of an example of that. The Cafe Heaven in Provincetown. This is where I live. Down in there. So most of my life takes place between Provincetown and Chatham. I just go up and down, back and forth. This is, we bought a house in Eastham because of this this garage. Because it's really hard to find a space to work in. So this is what the garage looked like when we bought it. And then we bought these windows and sheetrocked and put up lights and put in heat. So this is kind of what it looks like now. This was taken a while back, but this was during a session with a model in the background, and you can see the easels, people setting up to work. Now we're going to go back in time. This is me around 1974, I'd say. So got in a little car, a Mercury Capri, with some guys. We packed into a car and came down to Dennisport. So this is actually on the Cape. So that's me on top of coming out of the sunroof. And then this is me in Provincetown. That's me in 1960, I don't know, I'm guessing 69, 70, probably.
Which one's you?
Oh, right in the middle.
Tall, skinny. Tall, skinny.
Before he grew up.
Yes.
And I pretty much, when I walk down Commercial Street, it's pretty much the same look. That's me in 1962, I believe. So it's in front of my grandfather's car. So my grandfather was a painter. So this is me. This is my grandfather in front of the same car. So he was did a lot of painting of like upstate New York and Vermont, and farm scenes and stuff, and he was pretty good. So my mother is her father. So she encouraged me to pursue the arts because she was proud of him. So this is one of his paintings. And this one says to Paul Mark on his 6th birthday on the back of it. So he painted this for me as a present. That's me. You may have seen that. And in my grandparents' kitchen, and my grandmother was a beautician. And she worked in the back of a barber shop, and the barber had all these magazines, and he had comic books. And so he would give the old comic books to her, and she'd give them to me a lot of times. So I had these piles, stacks of comic books. So comic book art was like really, in the beginning, I looked at a lot of artwork. It's mostly comic books. And this is a friend of mine who also was into comics. We would read together. He wound up going to RISD. He actually designed my book. So we're still in touch. I think he's actually watching us right now on Zoom. So we go way back. Oh, my wife encouraged me to put these in. When I was a kid, This is kind of like inspired by Mad Magazine. I think there wasn't a really original idea, but taking two different kinds of animals and putting them together. So, or playing with words. So half snake, half giraffe, and then I don't know, polyunsaturated little wet skunk. So this is how I'd entertain. We didn't have video games back then, so this is how we entertained ourselves. Flea or fleaphant. So half elephant, half flea. It's a tough combination. So there's Dave, my friend Dave, and me reading comic books. Has up in camp up at a lake in upstate New York. Then at 12 years old, I took a talent test. I sent away, you see these things in the back of magazines, sent away for talent tests. So I did it. I was 12 years old. And it said, who are your favorite artists? Norman Rockwell and Charles Schultz were my favorite artists at the time. And then I got a B on this, but full disclosure, they give you a very kind of a ghostly outline, so you don't really have to get the proportions. They kind of fill it in for you, and you do the drawing, and then they try to sell you a correspondence course, So a few months later, after doing this, they sent salesmen to my house with suits and ties, and I thought it was like, this is like the big leagues, the Yankees. I mean, I'm going to the show, And then they came and did their sales pitch. My parents said, thanks, but no thanks. And I was 13, and I thought my art career was over because my parents refused to put me in. So this is high school self-portrait. Then this was like in college. And then this was another college at Boston University. Then another one was playing with trying to be kind of Rembrandtish, I guess, with the light and dark. This is another one around 1978 or 79, which was recently showing. This was in my mother's attic for 30 years. I kept collecting dust, and then we cleaned it off, and I brought it to the Cape, and it was shown in Cotuit, and then it was shown in the Vorse House in Provincetown. And it's a pretty good sized painting, but it actually sold a couple of weeks ago. Someone bought it. This one too is from BU, and someone purchased that. I never thought that these would sell, but who knows? Now they're antiques. And so this is the guy who bought that last one, Ken Falk, he's a New York Times article. He's a designer. He designs things like this, like hotels, like $1 million projects. And he decorated and designed the Vorse House out in Provincetown. And this is his house in San Francisco, and you can see me in the background. Yeah, so I thought it was pretty cool. This is where, after college, I got a job at a gas station in Milford, Massachusetts, figuring what am I going to do next? I had an art degree, and I thought I'd become a teacher or something, but at first I was just making, trying to just make a few bucks. At the time, I took a ride down to Fairfield, Connecticut for an art show, and I said, I'm going to go to an art show and put some paintings out and see what happens, and maybe this will be a sign whether I should pursue this kind of career. And I was there all day. I didn't sell anything, and I just said, this is not working out. So I was kind of discouraged. But someone did go through it. I was out in this kind of crafty area, and there was a jury show inside a building, and some older man came by and said, you should be in the jury show. You shouldn't be out here. So I thought, well, that's kind of a good sign, but I wasn't sure. There's my little still lives and things like that. So I did get a job from the gas station. I started doing an animation studio in Boston. So they did this thing for the Olympics. And you can see Billy Crystal, Gilda Radner, Harry Shearer did the voices. They were some of the voices. So I was painting the animation cells, which was kind of like factory work. But it was kind of creative, so it was fun. Then I got a job. They moved to California, and I thought, do I go to California? Do I get a teaching degree? What do I do next? So I got a job delivering waterbeds. What do I do next? And then I got a job at Montgomery Ward's selling furniture. And but I thought, I got to go back to school. I got to get my teaching degree. So then I didn't, because at that time, right after college, I got married, and then we had a baby. And then while my wife was pregnant, she came down with leukemia. And I was a single dad. So when she was about my daughter was 6 months old, I became a single dad. And so this is us at the Big Apple Circus, I think in Boston. So the first 10 years or so, it was just us. And actually being an artist I got to stay home a lot to work, do my work at home, and I was able to, have her with me, and it was just the two of us. I eventually got a job at an ad agency on Newbury Street. This isn't me, but I was doing this kind of stuff back when they did pay stub. And this is me in an ad with the ad agency I work. Sometimes they have me like model for an ad, well, once or twice. There I am on the cover of a magazine. And I would do this kind of thing, like layout drawings. And they would say, if you do a good job with the layout drawing, they might, let me do the illustration. But usually they would say, well, we're going to hire a real illustrator. But sometimes I would do something. This one is a chemical ad, and the word is nitroparaffins was the chemical, and how many variations can you make out of the word nitroparaffins if you change the letters around? So if you change the letters around, it made norepinephrines, and I had to come up with this little cartoon, and then fast fin rhino wrap, and then profanitis. So my days reading comic books was paying off. But at the same time, I would go down to like Art Institute of Boston, and I would go to like an open drawing session. So this was a model we painted on, and this is a pastel of a model from way back then. And then do little sketches like this, pastel drawings. I just enjoyed painting people, but I never really thought, there was a whole lot of promise in just, drawing if I wasn't teaching or something like that. But I met people who were illustrators, and I did this pastel as a postcard, and I sent it out I bought a mailing list, and I sent out like 300 all over the place to try to get some work. And so I got a job, this is Jackson Brown, Musician Magazine, which basically paid for my postcard, but kind of got the ball rolling. Then this was for a magazine in Brookline, and I had to do food and a yogi and make it look good and do it in black and white, but make it look delicious. So like, how do I do that? So anyway, that's what I came up with. This is another promotional thing, a pastel of the city of Boston. It might have gotten me this job, I don't remember, but so some company, McCormick and Dodge, just showing a small town. I think this was kind of inspired by Norman Rockwell's Stockbridge, looking at the street scene, kind of. Then city of Chicago. And so for that brochure, they had Gail Sayers, a football player, and Marilyn Vos Savant, who had the highest IQ, supposedly, and an article in Parade magazine. So I got to draw them. And then Marilyn Vos Savant contacted me, said she wanted to buy it and give it to her husband, who was Dr. Jarvik, who made the artificial heart. So I said, "You just died? Yeah. Oh, that's too bad." Well, I asked her, like, "I'll send it to you, you can have it, but I want you to take a picture of yourself with it." And I'm still waiting. And then, so then when my daughter was 10, 11, we met far, my wife of 33 years, so came along and the best thing that happened to us, we're still together. And then she was a graphic designer at the time, and she encouraged me to make these little cartoons. When I advertise, sometimes I have these little things that would, just little cartoons to get people's attention. And when you're an illustrator, you're doing a picture, but you're also capturing an idea. You're trying to convey an idea. So this was like a way to show like what you're trying to do, capturing an idea. So this is me at an easel, and then with our dog, and then on the phone talking to clients. And then me, I used to go swimming a lot in the pond, so this is me. And then, so this actually got in Communication Arts magazine. They had an annual to celebrate the best illustration. This was in there back when people were tethered by telephone lines, but just to show networking and communication. And then I would do this kind of thing. I got corporate work, just showing people coming together, having a meeting. This actually was quite well received, that just people work, teamwork, right? How do you show us teamwork, show us people working together? How do you do that? So my job was to come up with an image that would somehow convey this kind of thing, get people's attention, and make it easy to understand. This, yeah, people working together and landscape, putting together these objects that are solid objects, but they're creating this space to walk through. So it's kind of, sort of surrealism kind of things. This is when CDs were important, and no one uses them anymore. Yeah, networking across the world. This is when people had big boxy computers. This was 1999, it says on here. Yeah, just trying to make people work together, right? Compromise. And so that was the kind of thing I was doing. This is a financial piece, bulls and bears, running around where these people are having a meeting. Yeah. I put this was kind of funny because, yeah, they did a cheese colander, the what is it? The Cheese Council of California. So they had 12 different artists. Everybody has a different month. So how do you show, they gave me February, Valentine's Day, make something romantic in cheese and California. And so yes, got San Francisco and the cheese as the moon in the background. And this kind of thing, it showed like business, people, solutions. Business solutions was like a big thing. Yeah, people working together, pieces of the puzzle. Also people like, this is like urban renewal or something. I found that where this went, it was a Fair Housing Resource Directory. So yeah, just showing people in a neighborhood coming together to make things better. Digital equipment. There's a promotional piece, me in the city. They I would get contacted in the 90s and they'd say, there's this new thing called the World Wide Web, internet. So we got to show how people can communicate day and night and like all over the world. And so this is the cover of a brochure. This is a Christmas card. I would do a little illustration, send it out to art directors and designers. So yeah, happy people having a nice vacation up on the billboard, and then down below people buying Christmas trees. And the little kid, of course, wants a big tree, and the dad's pointing at the little trees. So this was a article about how to do with something like depression or abuse or something. So I try to create this feel like a flower, sort of unfolding, but it's also these boxes folding around a person. And all the colors all around her while she's in black and white, I thought was kind of, a psychological kind of play. This is a hospital magazine, which is a similar kind of thing. And this I'm not sure what this had to do, something similar with this woman holding a white flower. She's kind of pure, she's looking in the mirror, and then things are kind of fractured. There's like this, red color in the flower and her face. And then I did, funny illustrations too with, Mom, where do we sleep when we're traveling? So there's no room for everybody. So this was the Boston Globe, which is ongoing problem, I guess, about immigrants coming into the country, trying to get in. This is showing there's maybe jobs in America, but it's very hard getting in. This is kind of blurry, but people just, people with different ideas, apparently. In the 90s, they had this thing called the EV, the new electric car. And they were doing it in California. And I'm not sure they were doing it anywhere else, but they had me do like a series of posters. So this is my dog, and this was the back of my car. But yeah, they were promoting the EV before it got killed, and then it came back years later. U.S. News and World Report, I did this thing about the states, all these different states having issues. I guess as the years go by, there's always issues, right? So, but I tried to show each state as like a cutout piece, kind of like a puzzle, but they're fractured and having problems. And then this is where the piece would fit, and you can see through that area like what's happening in that each place. So once again, so I put this in to remind me. So then we had an idea at this time. I was doing all those things, and we thought, or my wife said, you went to school for fine art. Do you think you should do some paintings pretty soon? And I was very busy with the illustration work, and I thought, it'd be fun. I'll put a few paintings in a gallery as a sideline, a little hobby. And so I started doing a couple paintings. I gave them to Helen, and she just started selling them. And I haven't stopped. And, within the first year, I wasn't doing that other stuff anymore. I mean, all that stuff is in the past. So this is like one of the early fisherman paintings from the beginning.
What year was that?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. Some of the early work, I just have maybe some slides. They didn't have digital cameras back then. It was hard to get pictures of everything. But these are some guys that were working in Provincetown. Here's the gallery. And you can see the painting that I just showed you on the right. And, so I mentioned Communication Arts magazine was an illustration magazine. I submitted this actually as an illustration, well, it wasn't, but it got into the magazine just as an idea, because I called this Dream of an Ocean View. So my wife sleeping and this light coming in on the bed, and you can see there's a print, a framed print on the wall of a sailing ship, but then you can see the reflection of the window in that glass of the sea, which it was right across the street, the ocean. And that's me standing in this very corner. No, I guess it's over there. and there's Helen. Yep. Haven't changed a bit, right? Yeah. So there's so many, I'm surprised to go back and see all these, paintings that go back over the years. This one, I remember meeting the person who bought this, because she just fell in love with it. I don't usually buy paintings this big, but I just have to have it. And it was Mary Trump. And I remember that because like, oh, that's a name that other people have, so, yeah, but I don't know if she had a house on the Cape.
She did.
Yeah. And then in 2004, we moved up to Maine. This is our house in Maine. We had 10 acres, and this is our dog. And we were neighbors with Andrew Wyeth. The day we signed the papers, I ran into Andrew Wyeth in the art store. And I said hello. I thought, well, I'll talk to him next time I see him, but I never saw him again. I saw Jamie Wyeth around town, but we were only lasted a year, and then we came back. But that's somewhere in Maine. Yeah, they have a lot of lobstermen up there. And this was a quarry in Maine, Far, my wife. And this looks like her, but it's not her. But I called this one Letter Home, because I pictured this person maybe writing a letter to someone back home, back when people actually used to write letters, And I was up in Maine, kind of missing the Cape, and so I was thinking, yeah, she's far away, wants to communicate with someone she misses. Yeah, so this is Arthur Cohen. When I came back from Maine, I submitted to the Copley Society. I wanted to go to the Fine Arts Work Center. I spent a month, right? A month out there, and I painted all these a bunch of artists, about 13 portraits of artists in their studio. So Arthur Cohen. This building he was in is his studio, and it burned down a few years later. The only thing left was that big iron wheel behind him, which was a press. And Salvador Del Deo, my hero. And he still looks exactly the same. He's 96 years old. And Celia Treef. Ray Risk, who was kind of like the inspiration for this whole series, because he had this great head of hair and he's just a cool guy, and I wanted to paint him. Cynthia Packard. And so, yeah, I do love painting people. This is an article that came out about my group who paint in the studio that I told you about. We include Zoom now. It used to be just a bunch of people in my studio painting together. And it still is. I get about 12 people in there. But then we have Zoom cameras. So we have people from all over, from Hawaii to Europe, who paint with us. Just pieces of the article. I think Helen made this. For some figurative show, a sketch has charm because of its truth, not because it is unfinished. Charles Hawthorne. So this is a real quick sketch. I just thought it was kind of fun. This is a recent pastel with Joanna, my friend. Another quick sketch. So this is kind of my passion in a way, is just painting people. Even though I usually don't sell these, but it's just like fun to try to capture a person's expression personality. This one we had a warm light on one side and a cool light on the other side. And then we had a rope from the ceiling so she could hold her hands up like that without getting tired. And this is actually a demo I did on Zoom using one of the photos from that session. I just wanted to show people my technique, my painting technique. But I like the way it turned out. Same model. This is a friend of mine out in Provincetown who I know, part of the Beachcomber group, Beachcomber Club, artist club out there. And he was going through records, going back 100 years, trying to sort through records, and he had this great light coming in the window. Dan Richter, and he was in the 2001 A Space Odyssey, he was the ape that threw the bone in the air. Claim to fame. And then he actually was a personal assistant to John Lennon and Yoko Ono. So interesting guy, but just another portrait. This one is over there, which you may be familiar with. So we met on election day. So he came here from Trinidad and became an American citizen. He came 30 years ago and he became a citizen, like I think 8 or 9 years ago. And he's 83 and he's still working at capabilities. He takes care of people with autism and Down syndrome. So he's still working full time. So I decided he was a cool looking guy and I just thought it'd be fun to do a big painting of him. So this is, once again, in my studio. We're doing a Zoom session. This is Alfre Woodard, the actor. So you may have seen her in many movies, TV shows. And I contacted the Wellfleet Preservation Hall and I said, we have a group and do you think she might want to come pose for a bunch of artists at an artistic, and she went to BU just like I did, but she graduated before I did. But I guess she got the message and she thought, yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, okay. So she just came and hung out with us. She was a lot of fun. And then that's a poet that came. On a break, he read some poetry, and then we painted. This is a young woman I met at the airport, actually, and she came down from Boston. So I have to be fearless and just ask people, would you mind coming and posing? This is a Cape guy who's like a carpenter, I believe. Had a really fun beard to paint. Bob Stack, he's done like 20 New Yorker covers, like 75, I think, children's books, and he's in Chatham, so he came and sat for us. He's a really interesting guy. Daughter of a friend of ours, Brianna. And then this is, Brianna went to LA and her mom wanted to know, do you want this sweater? So she had this painting, put the sweater on. So then sometimes I'll have people like musicians come to the studios. This is Jerry Portnoy. He used to travel with Muddy Waters for years. And he just put out a book. I just got it on Amazon. It's really interesting. But he played all over the world with everybody, like opening up for the Allman Brothers and playing with Muddy Waters. And then he started traveling with Eric Clapton. So yeah, and he lives here on the Cape. So he came in and hung out with us. And let's see. Oh, I'll give you a little taste if you can hear it. Anyway, we might run out of time, so you can see that stuff on my website. So that's the painting I did when I got him to hold still. Then before that, actually, it was Dermot Mulroney. Dermot's mom used to be a regular here at the gallery, and she bought a lot of paintings. And he was the guest conductor, the Cape, what is it?
The Arts Foundation of Cape Cod concert in hiatus.
Yeah. So he was the Boston Pops guest conductor. So I actually contacted his mom. If you get him to come sit for us, we really appreciate it. So she talked him into it. And he was really nice. He came and hung out with us. And he's also a classically trained cellist. Yeah, so like I said, you can see that stuff on my website. So that's fun. I always thought that being an artist would be really lonely. But I'm meeting all these people. I meet people here at the gallery all the time, like all of you, and so yeah, we're very, very busy. There's the painting. Oh, there's him again. Working fisherman, as you know. So painting all these portraits in my studio is, it's just great practice, because what I want to do is paint for the gallery here, and I like painting people, so it's just good practice to have your hand in that all the time. This is a 4 foot by 4 foot painting I just did recently.
So that painting was sold from, you guys all get the email, the little thumbnails at the bottom of the email. It was sold from one of those thumbnails. It went from Paul's studio to the shipper. I've never seen the painting, and the collector didn't see the painting until it arrived at his home in Denver. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was too.
And then the next thing we heard was a picture of this painting hanging in his house.
Yeah, he sent us a picture of it in his house. So I thought it would look really good here in the gallery, but it never got here. So. Oops. There's a close-up of her. I just like the way the light was on her shoulder, and she's kind of in the shadow, but still try to pick up the colors like in her face. I don't know why it's doing that, but. The flats at low tide, one of my favorite things. Oops. This is my wife Far, who stayed in one of the dune shacks several years ago. So that was really fun. You might be familiar with the dune shacks out there, but no electricity, no running water. Yeah. This is in the Packard Gallery. Yeah, this was it was called Mojo's at the time in Provincetown. So yeah, mostly drawn to this, these interesting light, patterns of light and colors, and these shapes. This is a painting I did in New York City. Oh dear. In the Greenwich Village, and after it was done, I realized it's the same exact spot Edward Hopper was standing, and that place was called Silber's Pharmacy. In the window, it had a big sign that said X-Lax, so you made in the same building. So, but yeah, it's from the same angle and everything. So, when I stay in New York, I have this little apartment. A friend of mine has a little apartment to stay in, and so I thought this was interesting. There's warm light coming in one side and cool light coming in, sort of in the hallway. It's just very simple. You never know. It's like something that's a very simple idea that will catch on. That worked out. This was years ago in Maine. I went up with some friends painting in Maine, and it was kind of cold outside. I was like, I can just paint inside in this cool house we're renting. So, just light on a table. One of the first paintings I did of Cafe Heaven. And inside Cafe Heaven, this is my wife. The owner, I guess, saw one of those exterior paintings, and he just said, "Come out, gave us the keys. So we're not open today, so just go in and spend the day. Just the two of us. We're just like hanging out in the restaurant. So no one to make us coffee or anything." But it's the same building outside. So you may have seen some of these. Sometimes you don't see them because I bring them in, and Helen sells them, and then they're gone. So the same building with my wife Far, my favorite model. There she is again. This is in Provincetown, down by the water. This one was a pretty recent one. That's us in Mexico. We went down in Mexico on a painting trip. This one we were at the Fine Arts Work Center, and I don't know, it just kind of grabbed me. I saw it, like, wait, look at these towels. On the left is her towel, and the right is my towel. And I just said, somehow I can tell, these are our personalities. These are our towels. So I just did this painting, thinking like, this is weird, but it just felt like this was kind of a cool thing. But it didn't last long. So On the Bay, Drama in the Clouds. Yeah. So, what am I getting at? Okay, so this, you may know, this is the Ryder House. Is that what it's called, the Ryder Farm?
He called it the Ryder House, now it's called the Ryder Beach Farm.
Farm.
But
So
Hopper's painting is the Ryder's house.
this is Edward Hopper's painting of, and our friend Harriet, who comes to the gallery quite often, she owns the building now. This is where Hopper stood and painted. And this is us painting the same building. These are people from Chronicle?
Chronicle TV.
Chronicle TV, so working on a painting. They came down and did a whole thing about, Jonathan McPhillips was there too, I think, and Mary Alice, and we were painting around the property. So that was fun. So I think we still have some time. I'm going to go through this kind of fast, but I thought this might be kind of interesting. Being an artist can be kind of boring if you make it boring, but sometimes we get to go out and have fun. So this is I rented a house. I met a bunch of people, other artists, and we rented a house in Maine together. Got together. A lot of these guys were from California. One guy came from Mexico. Then we had like a dozen guys in this, basically a frat house up in Maine, not in across the water from Monhegan in Port Clyde. So we would just hang out every day, just stack paintings all over, and then I think we had a show here when we were done, right?
We had it at the Cape Cod Museum of Art.
Cape Cod Museum, yeah. And some of these guys are just nationally known, big time painters, quite well known. One day I said, I'm going to show a friend where Andrew Wyeth lives. So we went down this dirt road and started to pull up, and we're almost there. And then this guy comes out of the bushes, an older man. And I was backing up, okay, And he's like, stop. And he said, what are you doing? I said, well, we're artists. I just, wanted to take, you want to come on down? You want to see my house? And he's Andrew Wyeth's next door neighbor. And he just said, you want to paint on my property? You want to paint on my boathouse? And then he took us out sailing. And up there, just like here, a lot of coastline is privatized and they don't want you walking on it. And he had waterfront property, but he was against that. He's saying I think people should be able to use the coastline and enjoy it. So he said, come sit on, paint on my property, no problem. It was very nice. This is a view of 8 Bells, Andrew Wyeth, N.C. Wyeth's house, Andrew Wyeth's house at the time. Andrew Wyeth was still alive. His studio on the right. So this is the view from the boat. And this is, I think I stood here and kind of painted a little painting of his studio, Andrew Wyeth, originally N.C. Wyeth's studio. Very pretty. So actually, I think we're doing okay time-wise, pretty much. And there we are. And so they said, why, we were in Maine, we should do this every year. And they said, well, we already painted Maine. Why don't you come down to Mexico and paint with me? And I didn't think we'd get down there, but we did. So we went to, this is San Miguel. Beautiful colors. And then we found out, well, there were guys walking around with cameras while we were painting. What's going on? And then we realized later on that, Dateline there was a kidnapping or something, and Dateline was down there. So this is me appearing on Dateline. And they were just talking about, the peaceful town of San Miguel. And, a place where artists hang out. And a couple other, it's Mark Hansen over on the right. This is inside the villa where we rented. It was really beautiful. Some of the guys hanging out. So this is us being tough guys. So, artists are nerds, right? Well, we were we're being very, very macho. And this is me on my horse didn't like the idea that I was on his back, I think. So there were some very scratchy trees he would go up very close to try to get me trying to scrape me off him, I think. So, and then let's see. So, yeah, so painting can be kind of exciting. And Jeff Benasia, who was a painter, but a former advertising guy from Boston. And the other guy on the right is a Russian painter from LA, but he's obviously playing the part of a bad hombre. And that's all of us. Then we all came to P-Town, similar group. And then at night we would just keep painting, like painting each other and playing music. Then we went to Utah. This is Peter Khalil. We rented this house in Utah, painted by the canyons. This is my painting in a canyon. Close-up of the painting. So this is, yeah, Moab, Canyonlands. And then Andrea Petito suggested that we go to France. So this is some of us, far came along with us. We stayed in this medieval village. It's really beautiful. This is the view from our house. It's really beautiful. Here we are, having dinner. To Andrea. And then, yeah, I think we brought a lot of those paintings back here and showed them at Addison Art Gallery. And then this is a woman working at a cafe while she was setting up, and I was like, oh, really, this cafe is really great, and I love her colors and her outfit. So I did a few paintings of her. This one's in my studio still. Here we are. Saint-Cercle-Popy is the name of the little village. The view from our room. And then, now we're getting toward the end. Yeah, I think we're doing pretty well time-wise. So, this is Elizabeth Pratt. Sometimes my mind goes blank. This must be very early on. But Elizabeth Pratt, she was a lovely woman who showed her work here. And Grace worked here for a few years, right? Lovely Grace. There's a painting. She sat for my painting group. Here we are, putting up a painting somewhere. I did a demo at the Cape Museum of Fine Art. I'm talking and gesticulating. There's Pamela from the Little Inn by Pleasant Bay. Jonathan McPhillips and I painting probably down at Rock Harbor. Painting Rock Harbor. Painting this little, yeah. And Life of an Artist. Anywho, we're almost to the end. As I was saying, so yes, The Lonely Life of an Artist. Full screen. Painting in Truro. Some of the artists here, Paul Batch, Glover Stacey, yeah. So I put all these in because it's my 25th year, so we're kind of going through. Must be COVID, we all have masks on. Yeah. Painting at Harriet's farm. This is Salvador Del Deo, my hero. And then the divorce house. Then we painted out on the beach. We were going to paint mud heads on the beach. So a bunch of us painted this young woman here. Then here I'm at the gallery doing a little touch up. Having fun. I got most of those from these pictures from Facebook, the gallery Facebook page. This is at the Hopper house in Nyack. So this is the house he grew up in, lived in, and now it's a museum. There's Jim Holland, who shows his work in Wellfleet. He's a good friend of mine, and I at the Hopper House Museum. And then I am with Sal again. And then Relay. Painting the Marshall House, this is called, right? It's Yep, Edward Hopper painted this, and there was some Brazilian team of TV people came and they did some video of us painting in like Hopper sites. And then some of you guys might be in here. And then Julie Wake of the Arts Foundation. Oh, there's. Yeah. And I've hardly changed at all, right? So that's, yeah, me in college days behind me at the Voice House, my painting was showing, and then hanging out. And then two very important people, Helen Addison and Salvador Lodeo, with me at the, this is the inside, the Beachcomber Club at in Provincetown. And I think that's it. Thank you. Oh, I hope that made sense. How do I stop the share? Oh, stop the share. All right. Any questions? Yeah.
It's just nice to know that as an artist, you're not alone, that you are painting with a whole group of people.
Yeah.
That love the same thing you do, so it makes your life really even better, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know, I always thought, I figured I'd probably be a teacher, so I'd be surrounded by kids or whatever, and that didn't happen. So as an illustrator, I would be at home, but I get phone calls. You know, I'm calling from Time Magazine, or I'm calling from Digital Equipment Corporation. I might have to go in for a meeting, so I was meeting people, but you know, but I thought as a fine artist, I'm just going to be working alone and you know, never seeing anybody. But you know, I'm here quite often. There's a lot of receptions here. I have my painting group that comes to my house, and we sometimes we'll go out and paint together. So it's actually, yeah, very busy, and it's inspiring to be with other creative people together. Actually, we painted on Monhegan on that painting trip. We all painted. What was that spot on Monhegan Island? We're all painting this same viewpoint, and we have the collector of all those, a bunch of those paintings here in the room with us. Yeah.
That's me.
That's it.
There's a story behind it.
Yeah.
Yes, tell us a story, it's a good story.
They had come back, the article had been published. So we saw the article first, and we saw all of you in the photograph
Yeah.
appearing to paint the same image on the same day. That was the idea that occurred to me. So I asked Deb to drive out, and you know, you may have seen us from time to time. We haven't been here for a while, but so my wife came in, and Helen was showing her the paintings, and I got a phone call, which was not unusual. And so when they were done, my wife said, "Okay, I found the one we're buying." And,
One.
Yeah, one.
One.
She picked one.
Yeah.
And I said, "You don't understand. I want to buy them all." So, and the reason I wanted to buy them all, and this was, God, when did you, I don't remember when you went. This is probably 15 years?
More than that.
15, 20 years? Is I went to my office and I put them all up in my conference room. So people that met with me, as we were trying to sort things out, I would point to the wall and I would say, look, you know, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 of us. I say, these are images of the same location on the same day, painted by different artists, and you'll see everyone has a different perspective. So
That's right.
So it sat there for years, and then I had the opportunity to go to Germany. So I brought all the paintings over to Germany and put them up in my office so that I could, you know, share that with other people over there. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the story. And now I'm retired, and across from my desk at home, for my video conferences and things, they're still up.
Wow. Excellent.
But different perspectives from different people, showing the
Yeah.
same image, and it's all about communication.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is the kind of an interesting thing when you get a bunch of artists together that, yeah, the colors are different, the viewpoint is different, the whole interpretation can be different. So, yeah, it can make it really interesting.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm impressed you remember.
Yeah.
Paul, do you ever take photos and then go home and take your studio later, or is it all on site?
Oh, no, I take a lot of photos. So I'm always observing, and I paint on site when I can, but especially, with the fishermen, they're working. Yeah, they're not posing for me, so I'll just take hundreds of photos and go back the next day, take hundreds more, and I have to go through them and try to see if any of them are working or what things that need to change and rearrange. But yeah, I'll use those for reference. But I always say, like, painting week to week the models from life is good exercise, because painting from a photo doesn't capture everything. Your painting can wind up looking two-dimensional, kind of flat, unless you understand the three-dimensionality of the form, capturing a person. So yeah, it's good to work from life as much as possible, but photos can be a handy tool. Yeah. Other questions?
Kind of in the same vein, Paul, I mean, a lot of your paintings do depend on light, and, if you have light coming in through the window,
Yeah.
it takes you a certain amount of time to get that down in your sketch, and by that time the light's already changed.
Right.
So how do you?
Well, it can be, yeah, painting on site can be really tricky, so you have to keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to know the light's going to be right in an hour, so you're going to draw things in, maybe the structure, and then I'm going to capture the light and dark when I'm ready. And I usually try to, like an architectural scene or whatever, I'll try to put the lights and darks in fast, so I'm done. And then if it's changing, you don't change it. The artists call that chasing the light. And someday they'll change and you'll like it better, but what happens if you keep changing it, then you wind up with nothing, it just falls apart. So block in lights and darks, and then now I just have to put in certain colors and maybe try to remember what it looked like, or come back the next day when the light's in the same spot. Yeah. But yeah, that's the trouble, the sun's always moving, it's very annoying. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys all for coming.
Yeah.
The bars are open, there's still snacks, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Fantastic.
Thank you, Helen, for bringing Paul here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoom people, for attending.
From the little scratch.